ये जो लिंक आपने भेजा इस पर अभी भी ऑन नहीं हो रही, मेरी प्राइवेट आ रही है अभी भी।
दिन मेरी किसे होर नाल पढ़ दिन मेरी तेरे नाल रहना बदल मेरा धुंधला 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 धुंधला। रुको रुको, मैं किसी के वीसी पे जाके आ रहा, जहाँ पर बस हस्बैंड वाइफ बैठ सकते हैं। मजे लेके आया वहां पर।
वाह होता स्टार्ट हो। हाँ तो आपने सुबह लाइव स्ट्रीम की थी अपने चैनल पे। इधर आ रहा 10 हॉर्स अगो लाइव स्ट्रीम।
Why not earn some free rewards? All you need to do is download
आप स्ट्रीम को अनलिस्टेड कर दो ना, वो आपके चैनल पर नहीं दिखेगी, लेकिन आप जिसको लिंक दोगे वो ऑन कर सकेगा। Okay. नहीं, अभी भी प्राइवेट है। ये लिंक मॉडरेटर के लिए होगा ना, उनको दिखेगी इस लिंक से। यस। ओके। अरे ये वाला लिंक नहीं, ये तो आपने स्टूडियो का लिंक भेजा। हाँ, आप चल रही है, आप चल रही स्ट्रीम। यस। यस। ओनली इंस्टा। फॉलो इंस्टाग्राम। ओके, इंस्टाग्राम वाला ठीक पर करता है। क्या किया प्रेस मैंने? कौन से एक? यस। ओके। फिर मुझे लगता है डीसी से ना दो कमांड्स एक्टिवेट हो रही हैं। एक तो जो यूजर कर रहा है, एक नायला का खुद मेंशन हो के फिर बता रही है नायला के इसको फॉलो करो। हम्म, अच्छा इंस्टाग्राम का लिंक नहीं बन रहा, स्टार्ट में HTTPS नहीं आ रहा उसके, इसलिए लिंक नहीं बन रहा, नॉर्मल मैसेज टाइप हो रहा है। ओके, नहीं मेरा डिस्कॉर्ड का तो क्लिकेबल आ रहा है। हाँ जी। ओके, फिर क्या फायदा। यस। मिनट। इंस्टाग्राम तो पहले ठीक चल रहा था, सिंगल आ रहा था, ये भी अब कंटिन्यूस हो रहा है। ओके।
Hello, hello. What's up? बस सर बढ़िया। अरे मेरे को मेरी आवाज सुनाई दे रही है। अच्छा ये लाइव चालू है मेरे में। ये अभी तक ठीक नहीं हुआ स्ट्रीम एलिमेंट। अच्छा, और ये यूट्यूब का सर्वर कुछ ठीक हुआ कि नहीं? यार 2 दिन से रात निकालनी बड़ी मुश्किल हो गई है। सबसे यार पूरी रात डिस्कॉर्ड में गाने सुनता रहा मैं। अरे आप भी लाइव आए थे रात को। तो मैंने सोचा अभी चलो आपके लाइव में रात निकल जाएगी, लेकिन आपकी लाइव में आया तो आप ही चले गए थे। हाँ सही है, सही है, सही है, सही है। रोज रोज की झंझट जाया। आज हो जाएगा ना सब सही आज। ओके ओके, ठीक है ठीक है, करो करो। हाँ सही है, सही है। कर दो, सब सही कर दो। ये संडे के दिन कोई डिस्कॉर्ड पे आता नहीं। अरे भाई कौन सी दुनिया में रह रहे हो सर? लगता है 31st का नशा अभी तक उतरा नहीं है।
अरे यार संडे है, क्या बात है।
अरे भाई
यस,
आप भी इनकी तरह ही, आपका भी उतरा नहीं लगता है।
भाई तो उतर ही नहीं रहा।
काम का नशा है ये।
अरे हमारा वाला क्या, हमें इसलिए नहीं पता चलता, हम हमारा डेली का सेम रूटीन है। 5 घंटे काम, 5 घंटे गेमिंग, 5 घंटे काम, 5 घंटे गेमिंग, इसलिए हमें संडे मंडे का पता नहीं चलता।
सही है, सही है। यही काम का नशा ही रहना चाहिए।
वही तो, फिर ही सक्सेस है, फिर ही मजा है। संडे मंडे गिनते
सही है।
रहेगा ना, संडे मंडे गिनते रहेगा ना, फिर हमें टेंशन रहती है, अरे कल मंडे है, अरे कल संडे है। हम डेली सेम गुजारते हैं, सेम
हाँ
इंटरेस्ट।
हाँ, वही होता है। फिर संडे का सोच के फिर काम नहीं होता।
हाँ इसलिए डेली सेम वाइब अच्छी रहता है।
सही है, सही है।
लेट्स गो। साथ में दोनों करेंगे ना, मजा आएगा। वही तो। अरे पार्क ब्रो एक्सप्लेनेशन ना लगाओ, सीधा सा लिखो नॉर्मल कमेंट। Yes. Yeah. देखते हैं। कौन सा वाला ट्राई करो? अच्छा किया, छोटा सा कर दिया, पहले तो इतना बड़ा लिखा हुआ था। इतना काफी है। Yes. Go. Yes. हो रहा है।
ओए हाँ निशाद, बढ़िया बढ़िया, क्या बात है यार, तू बुलाता ही नहीं मुझको। नहीं यार, बदल गई। तो फिर कब आ रही हो पंजाब? हाँ, जब शेरगिल चला गया उसके बाद जाने वाला है वो तो।
If I click drag this up above the message, because everything that the message is going to use, we say, okay, our own variable, we have to set that variable. So we're going to right click on the sub actions. We're going to write, yes, what is it? How is it that I can have a message show up just randomly without anybody doing anything? Well, I'm so glad you asked, and that brings us.
आइडिया मैं वही कर रहा हूँ एक्चुअली। नहीं, मैं कोड कर रहा हूँ पूरा दोबारा से। मैं अपनी भी लाइव ऑन करता हूँ, देखते हैं जहाँ पे ठीक काम कर गया मैं बोट आपको भेज दूंगा, दोनों यूज करेंगे उसको। ओके ओके। ओके ओके। आप चाह रहे हो कि आप भी जब किसी का नाम देख के मेंशन करो, उसको भी मेंशन जाए? ओके ओके। मॉडरेटर उसको टैग करके लिख दे डीसीयूज, फिर हमारा बॉट उसको भेजे लिंक, उसको मेंशन मार के। ओके ओके।
Adobe Acrobat Studio is all new. What can PDF spaces with AI do? Do your marketing tasks in one spot.
Variables here, one piece of it, which is great because we can make things and you don't get all confused and lost by looking at tons of actions and sub actions. So the first thing we need to do is we need to set up the shout out command. And what I mean command when we it, but again, so we're going to right click on the sub actions here. We're going to come down to core. We're going to come all the way down to globals, and then of course global set, because we are set user this base and equals the first time somebody speaks in your chat. Okay. Now this is what is very important though. If you come streamer bot that I come along, we're going to click on add here, and you can name this whatever you want, but I just named this the SO for shout out, and then set up. And then I'm going to give this a group. This is going to be my moderation group because it is a moderator thing. And then we're going to click OK. And now we have it up here. Make sure that it's highlighted. We're going to go right into the sub actions. This one is only going to have 2 sub actions. That's all we need. 2 sub actions and a trigger. So what we have to do is we have to populate global variables when the user chats in our chat. And this is what's going to give us the variables that we need for the shout out. So we have to create these variables in such a way that it works with YouTube. Now, if you are familiar with YouTube and Twitch, you know that Twitch has the target user action variable, not action. It has the target user variable that gets populated. You can use the get user info from who redeemed or from input, and it'll populate target users. So you can actually type in a word after your command, and that is the target. Users, they use a variable, have these, we'll see that it's user and then capital U, which in this user, shout out for the Y user, and then our channel ID to type in manually and use the Y user ID variable at the very end. So it's HTTPS
Choose is team name 0. The second, for the do action, we are gonna choose the
://youtube.com and come down to YouTube. After the percent, we're going to do type in. We don't put X user and message to channel is be chat. And then we're going to make and to be.
हा किती सुखाने स्वप्नात हरवला आहे पण खोकल्यामुळे ह्याची झोपमोड होऊ नये म्हणूनच विक्स वेपोरअपचा नवीन फॉर्म्युला रात्रभर आरामासाठी फक्त हे गळा छाती आणि पाठीवर लावा ज्याने मिळेल सर्दी खोकल्यापासून आराम ज्यामुळे तो पाहू शकेल स्वप्न रात्रभर
दोस्तों क्या आप अपना टाइम फेसबुक और इंस्टाग्राम पे वेस्ट कर रहे हो इसी वक्त बंद कर दो टाइम पास करना अगर आपको भी चाहिए एक एक्स्ट्रा सोर्स ऑफ इनकम दोस्तों मैं ऐसे बहुत सारे लोगों को जानता हूं जो या तो रिटायर हो चुके हैं या तो एक लो सैलरी पैकेज पे काम कर रहे हैं और उनके पास जो भी टाइम बचा हुआ है वो एक्स्ट्रा टाइम
reset every time. And when the first words comes in, when they chat, it's ID to their user and user X user and user X user ID to their user and user ID. And what this is going to look like. If you come over to the platforms tab, and when the first words comes in, when they chat, it's going to run this action, which will set the user, X user, and user, X user ID to their user and user ID. And what this is going to look like is this. So here we have ARD edits X user and ARD edits X user ID, and then it's populated with their username and their channel ID. Same thing with Assorted Marbles, of course, with me, Bearded Ink, Kleina Conan, Metric Imperial, my robot even got in there. So these are all of their names and all of their channel IDs for that person, right? So these will never be overwritten. Channel, I have the you and narrator highlight side. We're just going to make a global. And it's going to be persisted. So this is very important. This is why it's important to have it persisted, because when that person comes into your chat for the first time, and you have to have, and then same your chat, this would populate with bearded ink. Oh, this all one word, just like you see there. We're going to leave this on argument because we are going to set the variable name based on the argument here. And that argument is going to be user. And so basically when YouTube populates the user with whoever's name that is, so if Bearded Ink types in duplicate sub action, ID variable that gets populated on the YouTube side is the person's actual channel ID. And this is going to be where we can make the clickable link for that person. So we're going to, again, that they chat. If you come over to the platforms tab, it is going to populate or run this action, which will populate these two variables. So here, these will never be make the because that's what we're going to use. But we can use them in a chat message. Okay. So the first thing we need to do now is, so we're, and then of course to global get, right? Instead of set, we're getting the variable now. And you're going to be met with this pop-up, this lovely little thing here. If my mouse follow will play along. But this one is going to work, populate the percent. So I put percent will populate now. User do all here and then go desk. Okay. So what these two do, look, there's link. Y user. Please show for the Y user that message. Okay. So the first thing we need to do now is instead of setting a global, we need to get a global. So we're going to do that by coming in here to core, again, down to globals, and then of course to global get, right? Instead of set, we're getting the variable now. And you're going to be met with this pop-up, this lovely little thing here. If my mouse follow will play along. Username, and then the here. Okay, so then we're just going to click OK. Now the fun part with this is we don't have to do all of this all over again. We just need to duplicate. So we're going to right click on that sub action. We're going to come down here and click with bearded ink. But then we have to give it a second variable name so that it doesn't overwrite. Okay, so we're going to just use X user, just like this. So it's going to be percentage user percentage X user, no spaces, all one word, just like you see there. We're going to leave this on argument because we are going to set the variable name based on the argument here. And that argument is going to be user. Do is and we argue for this and then from so that outside basically click on that sub action. We're going to come down here and click duplicate sub action. Then we're here and manually click user
active carry case, a USB charging cable, an aux cable, and finally, important safety information. Now, let's set up your headphones. On the right ear cup, press the Bluetooth power button to power on the headphones.
ID, and what this is going to look like is this ID. You make the so that we can use the little thing here, the variable now, and you're going to be met with this pop-up, this lovely little thing here. If my mouse follow will play along. But this one is going to be, since we raw input, the only capital letter is the capital letter I. And then without a space after the percent, we're going to do X user. Okay, so this is the same thing like you did before with the user X user, but now we're telling it raw input because this will be populated with whatever we type in chat.
जैसे कि अभी जो अपने आप लोग सेट कर रहे हो वो लिंक वगैरह, तो जैसे कि अपने स्क्रीन पे 90% लोग मोबाइल में दिखने वाले हैं, तो मोबाइल में वो लिंक आता नहीं है, वो लिंक पे टैप करते हैं तो सिर्फ वो मैसेज डिलीट और रिपोर्ट वगैरह उसका ऑप्शन आता है। तो फिर ये लिंक वही तो मैं सोचूं, मैंने कितनी बार देखा है ये, तो लिंक तो ओपन हो नहीं रहा और बार बार लिंक देने का कोई फायदा नहीं फिर।
We're going to click capital I lowercase, and then we're going to user
या तो फिर वहाँ लिंक की जगह ये चैनल के बायो में है,
and then we're going to user, okay?
ऐसा कुछ तो उनको आता नहीं हुआ है।
अरे निशाद भी एक प्लान है और ये देखो जरा, ये मैंने बीसी के चैट में एक लिंक भेजा है, इसको देखो जरा। अरे लिंक नहीं हो रहा, मैं डीएम भेजता हूँ। अरे वहाँ जाइए ना, मैं डीएम भेजता हूँ।
typed in the shout out for our command.
Yes, मैं हूँ चैट में।
commands are there. We're populating variables when the person chats in our chat. And then when we go to shout that person out, we're pulling the information from those variables and populating the message. Now, of course, if you want to get super fancy with this, you can add OBS stuff like setting source visit. We're going to add, and then of course, target ID that input streamer bot that I use for Twitch that pop, and then we're going to click gets pop. This the very over again. We just need to duplicate name to pop fill words, and basically all this means. For like this, user defined. Okay, why there the pieces at the variable name based on the argument here, and that variation is adding for both the variable name and the argument. Capital I, lowercase d, because the user ID do that to chat, going to check. We're going to leave ID box. We're going to leave it completely to popular. First is what reset cache of 12 like I have on my. And when the first words comes in, when they chat, it's going to run this action, which will set the user, X user, and user X user ID. Right? We wait up user name. Click. We're going to add, and this one is going to just be called the shout out because that's what we're making. Okay. Now those varies then do that to be met with this pop up, this lovely little thing here. If my mouse follow will play along. Then pop exclamation would still pop with be a little bit different type in chat. The destination variable now it needs to be a little bit different, and this is the variable that we're going to worry about it.
42 lakhs per annum.
Wow, 42 lakhs, that's your salary?
Yes.
And what do you do?
Before, we don't have to do all that again. Then you guessed it, capital I, lowercase d, capital I, lowercase d. So we have raw input X user ID, and then the destination variable is Y user ID. Okay? And then we're going to click OK. So what these two do now is whatever we type in becomes raw input. So when we do shout out bearded ink is the raw input. And then it's going to look for bearded ink X user. And as we saw before, there's a bearded ink X user there. And then that value Y. So we hear broadcaster by sub with Y user. Please show our support for Y user by subscribing to their channel. The variable /channel /% Y user capital ID.
क्या चेक करूं?
So we have stable actions, but it stay there forever, right? Unless you manually delete them. So once they chat in your chat, you can then shout them out from that moment forward forever, whether they're there or not. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to not only create this variable, but we have to have a way that when we try to call this variable, we call it based on who we're shouting out. And the way that we're going to do that is we X user D, because the user ID variable, or from input and variables like this, and we don't have to do a whole lot here, which is great. We're going to leave it on global. Now here's the user target, but again, the target user is never defined in YouTube, so we can't use that. And this is, I think, the biggest drawback and why shoutouts have been failing on YouTube side for so long. But we're just going to make a global, and it's going to be persisted. So this is very important. This is why it's important to have it persisted, because when that person comes into your chat for the first time and they type a message, it will populate these variables that we're creating now. And because they're persisted, they will stay there forever, right? Unless you manually delete them. So once they chat in your chat, you can then shout them out from that moment forward forever, whether they're there or not. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to not only create this variable, but we have to have
Yes, yes, yes. वही तो। Okay.
have a way will be pop. And so basically when you sort of set I populated with
Voice is simply faster, more natural, and more flexible than typing. He said he's voice-pilled, and I can see why. WhisperFlow delivers what Reed calls the future of AI interaction. Here's how it works. Instead of typing, just talk. WhisperFlow cleans it up instantly. Reed explains that voice is iterative by default. You stumble, you rephrase, you interrupt yourself. WhisperFlow handles all of that and turns it into perfect prompts.
Imagine yes, animation 50 million into the box. First light. Remember, you should to the risk became any questions source by one. This became you should set up the CA over on the phone. Now
here's how to make a shoutout actions tab and one after timer or what happens when you mess up. Situation was last playing. I don't have time to cover all of that today though, so right click and make a mark shoutout order only by selecting the make sure the command will work since the actual set this actions tab. You can right click core command triggered and select the shoutout the username listed in the command. And in this situation it's called raw input. So we can right click add Twitch moderation send shoutout, and we will use our raw input as a variable by putting 2% signs, one before and one after. And now 2% signs, one before and
एक सेकंड जीपीसी हाय इसमें 2 ऑफ आ रहे हैं इसलिए मेंशन नहीं हो रहा मेरा नाम 2 ऑफ आ रहे हैं हाँ अब आ रहा है हाँ हो रहा है यस वही तो चले इसे हाँ, वही तो। ट्रिगर्स हो गए खत्म, अब सजावट रह गई। मेरा भी बोर्ड चल गया। हम्म। अब मुझे बस ये सोचना है कौन कौन से ट्रिगर्स बनाने हैं, और हाँ, ट्रिगर्स कौन कौन से मेन मेन है। एक हो गया इंस्टाग्राम, डिस्कॉर्ड, GTA 5 ID। हाँ। अरे मेरे को कोई नहीं पूछेगा मेरे पीसी कौन सा है। यस। इंस्टाग्राम अब नहीं चाहिए हमें थर्ड पार्टी स्ट्रीम बोर्ड, नाइट बोर्ड। हम खुद ही बन गए। यस। हाँ, ये हुआ, ये तो है। डिस्कॉर्ड और हमें चाहिए क्या। आपने कितने सेकंड का कूल डाउन लगाया? ओके, मैंने 30 का लगाया। आ जाएगा, अभी कूल डाउन में हो गया आपका।